This is Michael Popok, Legal AF, right on time. And as part of his strategy, it appears within 24 hours after Donald Trump's transition team leaked to the media that he was going to appoint Aileen Cannon, the judge that dismissed his case down in Mar-a-Lago brought by the Special Counsel, to the Attorney General position of the United States. He has now filed a new motion with Judge Chutkan in the D.C. election interference case saying, see what a great idea Judge Cannon had to find that the Special Counsel is invalid, is a improper delegation of authority under Article 2 of the Constitution, and his funding was illegal and illegitimate. That's a great idea. We should do it here in the D.C. election interference case and get rid of this special counsel and all special counsels. Let's do that. And to bolster his argument, it's apparent to me now, he put Aileen Cannon just yesterday on a leaked list showing that she was at the very top in order to signal to MAGA that he was rewarding Aileen Cannon for dismissing the case against him and strengthen his argument somehow that, see, a future attorney general or even Supreme Court justice believes the following. It's almost like he did it to bolster his argument, knowing that 24 hours later, they were going to be filing a request with Judge Chutkan to ask her if they could file a motion to dismiss the DC election interference indictment on the same grounds. Do you see it? I see it, and I'm talking about it on this hot take. Now, let's break it down. In order to file the motion, Judge Chutkan has said that both parties have to file a pretty please request. That's my words, but it's a letter request to the judge, laying out the arguments, and then the judge will decide whether the motion can be filed or not. Now, they already raised this issue on the Trump side on September 5th during a hearing that they had in front of Judge Chutkan, a status conference, if you will, after Jack Smith and the Special Counsel's prosecutor's office obtained a superseding indictment from a grand jury. Now, hold that thought. Remember, it's not the prosecutor's offices that are indicting. This isn't an indictment by way of a criminal complaint or an information. This is a grand jury that's indicted Donald Trump. So whether the special counsel is invalid or not, I don't think affects the validity of the indictment, but let's hold that for a moment. In the September 5th hearing, Donald Trump's lawyers said, well, by the way, we got another motion we're going to be bringing based on a ruling by Judge Cannon, who just recently dismissed the Mar-a-Lago indictment and all 40 counts of it, finding that the appointment of the special counsel was invalid and unconstitutional under Article 2 of the Constitution, which gives department heads the power to appoint inferior offices and officers such as the special counsel, but that this wasn't done properly and only Congress could create a special counsel. Now, that is against the weight of 250 years of constitutional jurisprudence in the United States. I can't make this point any more clear. The United States Supreme Court in 1974 recognized the propriety and constitutionality of a special counsel in the Nixon case, and we've got cases dating back to the founding of this republic that recognize the need for and the legitimacy of a special counsel, as has Congress. But not to Aileen Cannon, the first judge in our history to ever find that the special counsel is invalid and should be ignored. And all of the work he's done to obtain an indictment should also be ignored. Now, where did she get that from? Well, we know that Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court, in one of his concurring opinions in the immunity case, well, how do I put this? He wrote a love letter to Aileen Cannon and blew her kisses and said, hey, this special counsel is invalid, and you should find him invalid, and you should have all the indictments dismissed. And she said, great idea. And that's exactly what she did. And then she was rewarded yesterday with the fact that she's number 1 or number 2 on the list of attorney general candidates. And I got a scarier proposition. If she's not attorney general candidate for Donald Trump, she's a Supreme Court justice candidate, or both. Let's talk about shaving. For decades, we've been sold the idea that more blades equal a better shave. But does it really? Most of us expect some level of irritation when we shave, and that's just not right. Henson Shaving is here to change that paradigm. They've looked at the problem from a different angle. Instead of focusing on just getting a smooth shave, they're all about getting a skin-friendly shave. Their razors are designed to hold the blade steady, with less bend and wobble than traditional razors. It's like the difference between cutting with a wobbly knife and a steady one. More control, means less irritation. It's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that'll last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/legalaf to pick the razor for you and use code LEGALAF and you'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just make sure to add them to your cart. 2 years free blades when you head to hensonshaving.com/legalaf and use code LEGALAF. Now, I now see this as a part of a grand scheme. Yesterday, they bolstered her credentials by saying that she's on the short list to be the Attorney General of the United States. And then they filed their motion in front of, or request with Judge Chutkan. Now, in September, when they raised the issue of we're going to bring this motion, Judge Chutkan looked them in the eye and said, yeah, I don't think that has a lot of support or a lot of intellectual heft to it. But if you want to bring the motion, I can't stop you from asking. And that's what's now being reported. Now, they made a big deal in their filing about, well, not only is he improperly appointed under a misinterpretation of Article 2 of the Constitution and what is an inferior officer, because when you read it clearly, the Attorney General has the right to set up inferior officers that report ultimately to the Attorney General, even a special counsel position. And that's exactly what he did with Jack Smith. Just like every independent counsel, special counsel, or special prosecutor, no matter what you name them, has been done for time immemorial until it reached Aileen Cannon's chambers. So they make that argument. Then they make the argument, look at the numbers. They're spending $36 million to prosecute me. Well, let's put that in context. First of all, I've seen reporting that at least a third of the $36 million is for personal security to protect the prosecution team and those around them from threats of MAGA brought on by Donald Trump. So let's take a third of that off the table, shall we? Because it was caused by Donald Trump, see Jan 6th, and the attempt to set fire to democracy. The second thing you should know is that Donald Trump is spending tens of millions of more dollars from his adoring public and from their donations to pay his legal team, anywhere between $20 and $30 million a month, including for all of his legal cases, including the DC election interference one. So is it any surprise that, of course, the prosecutors who have to go through the effort of preparing their case and doing an investigation and getting all the Jan 6 committee material and doing their own interviews and doing their own witnesses and doing their own grand jury twice and dealing with the immunity decision and with dozens and dozens and dozens of people, with a guy who's as slippery as a greased watermelon in a pool like Donald Trump, is it any wonder they racked up $20 million or so doing their work? That's low money. And again, a third of it is personal security to protect people from Donald Trump and people like him. So I really don't see the point of that. The Congress had originally established a funding mechanism for what was originally the independent counsel when there was an independent counsel back so many years ago, before Bill Clinton. And they allowed that funding to continue even after the independent counsel statute lapsed. In the meantime, to fill the gap, if you will, the executive branch, which is Joe Biden right now, and Merrick Garland have appointed special counsels as needed under their authority under Article 2, where the executive can delegate to a department head. The department head can hire inferior officers. And that's exactly what the special counsel is. They act like he's some sort of drive-by independent prosecutor, stranger to the case. They don't know how he got here. I got news for them. He's not a 1099 independent contractor. He's an employee. You know, his direct deposit slip says Department of Justice when he gets paid, as do everybody else on the team, or U.S. government, U.S. Treasury. That's how he gets paid. And so here's what I think is going to happen. Judge Cannon is going to allow, I believe, the federal government, the special counsel, to respond to the letter they'll argue against the motion being filed. They'll file a brief as part of their letter, I think, or their letter will be a brief, which will argue against the positions much as they did. They can just dust off the one they did at Mar-a-Lago with Judge Cannon and the one they're going to file at the 11th Circuit related to her ruling there for the very, very same rules and very same reasons, and that it would turn the world upside down. Do we dismiss all special prosecutors and special counsels, including the one that went against Hunter Biden and others? What should we do about that? I think they're going to defend the office of the special counsel, the proper delegation under Article 2 of the Constitution by ultimately President Biden by way of his attorney general, and they are going to oppose the filing of the motion. Having read that, the judge can then decide, well, let's have full briefing on a motion schedule, on a briefing schedule, and allow the brief, but signal, I think you have a losing proposition, but you can keep trying to convince me. Then she sets up a briefing schedule. I think that'll go relatively quickly, probably throughout the month of October into late November, and then she'll make a decision about it. And I assure you right here, and you can come back and test my little time capsule. Popok is telling you right here, Judge Chutkan, whether she does it now off the letter briefing or she does it on full briefing, she is going to deny the motion to dismiss, and she's going to reject the canon analysis that they're trying to use and bolster and promote of one Aileen Cannon, who's going to have her decision to dismiss the 40-count indictment against Donald Trump reversed by her bosses at the 11th Circuit anyway, while they consider strongly reassigning her from the case now that she's made it to the short list of Donald Trump's attorney general. I don't think you can have the criminal defendant make a job offer to the judge and have that undermine the integrity of the court system. Do you? So we'll follow it all right here on the MeidasTouch Network. And the next steps, the judge probably letting the special counsel file in opposition to the letter brief, then setting it up, I think, on full briefing, then making the decision against Donald Trump, and then he can take that up on appeal along with everything else. That's where all this is heading anyway. We're all heading back to the United States Supreme Court with Jack Smith and this superseding indictment, whether we like it or not, while democracy hangs in the balance. So until my next hot take, whether it's here on the MeidasTouch Network or on our sister channel, Legal AF, the YouTube channel that I'm the chief curator for. Come over there, free subscribe, help us build that pro-democracy channel. I'm Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.